laid into me last night, did a devastating critique. And what a creep I am, what a manipulative jerk. Just tired of my shtick. Just sick of the games that I play. Why am I hanging around right-wing politics at all? And Luke Ford, if you're listening to this is what I believe, this is what I think. It's like, it took me aback because we had this, after we had this really cordial 50-minute conversation, but he's right that I do lack the social graces. I suddenly realized that it was just a few minutes before the Sabbath, so I bailed out of that chat we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But he was angry and disgusted and just laid into me and stood behind it 100% until he deleted it all. So come on, guys, if you attack people publicly, go into a very detailed personal critique about how disgusted and repulsed and angry and upset you are by someone, you need to leave it up so that they have an opportunity to respond appropriately. Or if you delete it, you should post publicly why you deleted it. Like if you stand behind what you said, then leave it up. If you cannot stand behind what you said and you flew off the handle and said things you regret, then you should post publicly, as you made the attacks publicly, why you can no longer stand behind what you said. It doesn't seem that complicated to me, but aside from the personal angle, there's some really important differences in opinion and principle, and one of them was that Dennis Dale very strongly believes that anyone can become an expert. He's telling your audience, you can become an expert. And that's where I disagree. You can't become an expert in a large number of areas, and it's highly unlikely that you'll ever develop the same level of expertise as someone who's devoted a lifetime to a topic, at a prestigious university, benefited from the critique of peers. So, criticism makes me better. Criticism makes me a better person, it makes me a better thinker. I'm a big believer in trying to think things out socially. So I regret that Dennis Dale took down his stream because it was just a fun watch. He's got this great radio voice, he's got this compelling manner, it grabs your attention. We have pretty much the same audience from the chat. It's like all the regulars from my show were on the Dennis Dale stream. And they're going, King Dennis, yeah, you go. Luke's not normal. He can't hold a normal conversation. You're absolutely right. There's just unanimous approval of his critiques, 100% from the very same audience that watches me. But then he deleted the stream. But we can't all become experts, right? So Dennis Dale's a big fan of the new RFK Jr. book, which I haven't read it. Seems to me, from the little I know about RFK Jr. running for the Democratic nomination for president, just seems a lot of unfounded conspiracy theories about the dangers of vaccine and how the CIA conspired to kill President John F. Kennedy and maybe conspired to kill his father, Robert Kennedy. That Wi-Fi causes all sorts of horrible things. So, in my understanding, expertise is something you have to earn through a lot of hard work. I think Dennis misrepresented my perspective that just because you don't have expertise, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't say anything, but you should have a sense of humility. So I try to give a sense of how much time I put into a particular topic. Sometimes I'll say, I'll just glance at the headlines on this, or I'll probably spend 100 hours researching this, or I've read 30 books, or 3 books, or 1 book, or 2 academic studies on the topic. But you should have an appropriate sense of your own level of learning. And probably of my audience, 0.1% of people can do an effective and useful meta-analysis of the leading academic studies on any given topic. So you're not going to become an expert in nuclear physics or in vaccines if you don't have the equivalent of a PhD. And so that doesn't mean you can't give an opinion, and it doesn't mean that you can't be right and the experts or the PhDs can't be wrong. Listen, if I was betting on things, I would generally speaking, I'd bet on experts with PhDs from prestigious universities, publishing in prestigious journals, with a long lifetime body of work. I would generally bet on them being more correct than someone who's put 10 hours into a topic as opposed to someone who's put 40,000 hours of study into a topic. So that's my bias. I disagree with Dennis. I don't think anyone can become an expert. I don't think everyone's opinion is equally valuable. And while outsiders and the non-expert can sometimes be right and the expert's wrong. Generally speaking, that's not my understanding of how the world works. So this Dennis Dale stream, it provoked me into, I need to do a list of like foundational principles. Like now, how is this different from my rules for life? But I think I should do a list of foundational principles. I think they just make for more effective living that we've developed through the conversations we've had on this channel, such as I want to have the best possible relations with the widest possible, with everyone. I want to have the best possible relationships with everyone. You want to say things that can be heard by the largest number of people, that we benefit from social learning, so it incentivizes us to phrase things so the largest possible number of people can hear what we're saying and process it and respond to it without dismissing us. That generally speaking, experts know more than non-experts. That it's highly unlikely that any one of us will change the world. That most of us, most of the time, are highly inconsequential. It's very rare that any of us, are important to society. So if I disappeared or you disappeared tomorrow, in all likelihood, a few dozen people would be hurt and maybe 100 or 200 people would miss us. But in 6 months, only a handful of people would still feel a deep void in their life. So when people come on their stream and say nobody cares what you have to say, you're just ranting into the Beverly Hills breeze, they're more true than false, right? Nobody really does care. So I'll make a video and a few hundred people will watch it and that's about it. Are scientific consensus the closest to truth that we have? Generally speaking, I would say that the current scientific consensus is the closest to truth that we have, unless we're operating in an environment where scientists are strongly incentivized not to publicly align with the truth. So the idea that different people have different gifts seems to me the most obvious truth in the world, but there's a very strong incentive not to admit this very obvious truth. So in areas where the incentives are strongly running against saying basic truths, then I would expect the experts to look after their self-interest and so obfuscate instead of telling the truth. To be continued. But what do you think? A stream on the foundational principles that we've developed on this channel.